Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I have my pickups from the National video, and I had a great time. I was really prepared for this National. I sold cards for months leading up to this event, and then I brought cards to sell. I sold a few collections. I sold my Jackie Robinson collection, actually, to get ready for the show, and I'm going all in on pre-war 90s. I just decided to pull the Band-Aid off and go for it and really, really focus. And I think I have. This is the kind of show and the pickups I want to have to build my collection. I'm kind of redoing my focus, really going all in on pre-war 90. So hopefully you see that, and I'm still picking up Clemente cards and cards I like that aren't just in those two categories, but I'm really trying to focus here, and hopefully you see it. Now, later this week, maybe tomorrow, me and Doug, Joe Wood Collector, my buddy who I went to the show with, we're going to do a video together to talk more about just the experience and what it's like. We were there for 4 days, and just give you how we perceived it from being around the show and dealers and just having a good time at the show. This is more just about the cards I picked up, so hopefully you tune into that as well. Now, we'll start here with my Clemente collection, that cards I picked up for my Clemente or Pirates collection. We'll start here with a beautiful 66 Venezuelan Clemente. It's the nicest version of this card I've seen. I'm sure Howard Chaser's got a better copy, who's sort of one of the big registry guys, but because that's who I got it from. So I'm assuming he has got a better copy. But this card is just sweet. It is impressive. Now, the thing that was interesting was there was 3 other 66 Venezuelans in high grade at that show. And it's a little suspicious that they were all like 5s and 6s. There was a Brooks Robinson, Harmon Killebrew, and I think it was Tony Perez. So there was like some really high-end Venezuelans at the show, in 66 specifically, in this Clemente. And you can see it's got great centering. It's got good color. You look at the back. The back is very packed fresh, no damage. So for me, I thought this was about as nice as a 66 Clemente Venezuelan as I could get. So that was the first big pickup. Next, here is a set that I've been chasing for a long time, and hopefully you'll recognize her off the bat, but it's 60 Cons Clemente in a 5, and a few cards have sold to this card a little higher grade, and I just wanted to cross this off. I paid a little bit over comp, which is what happened to the National, but I did feel like for the condition, it was pretty nice. A little damage there. Corner damage. So, but for the most part, a really solid mid-grade card from a set that's really tough. And my 61 is actually being graded right now. And I'll talk about that here when I get to the pre-war cards. I did submit cards for grading. I've talked about this quite a bit, that I'm not grading as much anymore. But we had a few cards and that needed to be graded, or I just felt like it was the opportunity to grade some cards. And I'll talk about them here in a little bit. Next up is my buddy Doug is putting the T207 Boston Red Sox set together. So I thought maybe it'd be fun if I chase the Pirate team set. So here is John Ferry. The thing I like about this is pretty high grade. A 5 for T207 is pretty tough, pretty high grade. But if you look at this one, it's super, super sharp. And I want to show you a little bit of the color and gloss. It's got a ton of gloss on that card. And I really love that. Pirates on the uniform. So just a lot of fun. Cool card to pick up. And it wasn't overly expensive. It's got a recruit back. But for me, it was just trying to get a card from this set, which I have a few T207 Pirates already. So, but this fits into that. And, you know, as a pirate collector, just fun to pick up pre-war pirates. Now, next up is a card I actually own already in an SGC 8 holder, but it's moved around in the holder, and I'll probably end up either having to get a reholdered or something with it because the holder is just crazy. A guy had this 68, probably 58 hires coupon. I'll pull back here so you can see the whole thing. Just a crazy good card. It is very well centered. Pull that up here. It's got some great color and gloss. The coupon is in good shape. It's in a great holder. Here's the entire back. For the price point, I picked this up in the Larry Doby and ended up selling the Doby at Trade Night. I just felt it was a good deal, and I went ahead and grabbed it. So I have 2 copies of this card now. So I'll see what I'm going to do with the SGC 88, but the SGC 88 is like in a T3 holder. So I'm glad to get it in a holder I can actually display now. So, and so now we're going to move on into some to some pre-war cards, and we'll end on my modern and Griffey pickup. So if you're just into it for the Griffey cards, it'll be at the end of the video. We'll move on to the pre-war section here in the vintage. So we'll start with the one non-pre-war card, and I think this is a card I've always loved, and I am going to, after thinking about it with Doug, and you know, there are a lot of 50s and 60 cards that I love just to have a copy of. You know, maybe I'll do like 10 or 15 or top 20 cards from the 50s and 60s I own, and this card would be on it. I love this card. This is a card that me and my dad loved forever. As well, it's a 54 Red Heart Musial. And this one is special because of the centering and the color. And I did pay. It's from a collector that was at Trade Night. He was set up right next to me, and he has like the number 2 53 Bowman color set in the registry. And unfortunately, he sold some of his cards, like his 53 Bowman Spawn, which would be on my list of best cards of all time, that I would probably want to put in my collection. And he sold it, I think, to Howard. So there's a lot of Howard Chaser in this, and he's going to come up again at the end. So me and Howard had some good interactions at the show. I've sold cards and bought cards from him before, but we really had a good interaction. And he's definitely a guy that I would definitely do a lot more business with, just because of how easy, and you know, he's not the cheapest, but he does have good stuff. So he's one of those guys where you can work with, and you know, and he's fair, but he definitely won't be the cheapest, but he also has really good stuff. So I think that's the idea, is like he does really chase good stuff in good condition. This card was from, again, a dad walking around with his kids, set up at Trade Night, and he had some beautiful 53 Bowmans. He had probably the nicest 53 Bowman manual I've ever seen. Literally it's like an SGC 88, but this thing was insane. I wish I would have had the money to buy it, but that card was crazy. So, but there you go, 54 Red Hot Musial. Next up here, another Trade Night pickup. Just a card that I really like. And here we go. So here's a T213 coupon. Now, the cool thing about this card is that it's a Type 3. And Type 3s are incredibly hard to get. This is one of the highest graded, even with the MK designation. I'll show you where the MK is from. It's still one of the highest graded copies. The MK is that little spot there. I guess someone touched it with a Sharpie or something back in the day. So, but I love this card. It's definitely a card that has tons of color. It's Chief Meyer. So, from a Native American collecting perspective, because that's going to come up a little bit later as well. Chief Myers isn't actually Native American. He just was called Chief. So, from what I've read, but it's still a cool card and great visual appearance. And these cards are just T213s are A, hard to find, and B, in any kind of good condition. These are just difficult. So I was very happy I picked up that T213 coupon. Next up are a couple cards I picked up for my E91 set that I'm slowly building. First up is a Ed Summers, and this was just in great shape, so I went ahead because it's so centered, and I picked it up, and I'm very happy I did. Just a great looking copy of that card. Here's the back again, the American Caramel, baseball caramels, and then here is another. Here is Sam Crawford. And again, this guy actually had built an entire E91 set, or E90-1. I keep saying E91, but it's really E90-1. And he was 5 cards away from the set and gave up. So I picked up 2 raw cards and 2 Grady cards. And the 2 raw cards are actually at SGC right now. This is what I was going to say is, I'll get to the end, but I do have cards at SGC because of what I picked up. And one of the raw cards I picked up was a Chief Bender, and it's at SGC right now. So that kind of helps, with some of the pickups, because in terms of value, because they're cheaper. And SGC was offering a $15 flat grading fee at the National, so it just made sense to take my vintage and my pre-war and just give it to them and have them grade it. Now, here's getting into some of the more bigger pickups. Here is the only, my first card. I have a big insert from like Police Gazette of this player, but it's my first card, and it's a Grover Alexander E120 American Caramel in a 3, and it's a very attractive 3. It's got great centering. It's got even wear on the corners. It's got a little bit of paper missing, upper left. A little crease there. Very attractive copy of this card. And in fact, me and Doug were looking at this card, and Doug was, like we thought maybe he would buy it, but he was just like, there's other cards I'm looking for. Here's the back, and again, here's the checklist with Mr. Alexander first. And so here he is with the Cubs. And I think when he turned it down, I ended up buying it, and really love this card. I'm glad. I picked up a really rare postcard of Alexander at the show, and I stupidly put it out on trade night, and the guy bought it. And I didn't think anyone would buy it, honestly. I just put it out there really to look at, and he made an offer, and I just said, okay, I don't know, like I just get in situations where I'm just like, oh, here's a number, and he said, okay. So next time I know not to do that. And it was a very cool postcard, but honestly, like going back and looking at it, if we even had to choose between the two, I like the postcard, but I like the card better. I'm end up with the card anyway, and so I'm pretty happy. Moving into some of the Chief Bender collection, we'll go through them. I did pick up quite a few Benders, and I'm really happy with what I picked up. But I'll start here with the one that's kind of in the worst condition, but still pretty rare card. But before I get into that, I'll start with Eddie Collins. I have picked up my first Eddie Collins. Here's a E103 Williams Caramel. Really tough. And these cards are really interesting on the terms of the border width and just how they definitely have a lot of variation. This is a 1.5, but this set is really tough. You a lot of times see these cards missing whole chunks, and that's very common to see some ones and authentics just missing a whole corner. And that's why on this card I was just happy to get one graded, but it's actually pretty nice. It does have a little marking on back, but this is a really nice copy of this card. It's got great color, pretty well centered, and I did pick up, again, for the conversation, I did pick up a T3 Eddie Collins at the same dealer. He had both these cards, and both had the same markings. So the idea is that it probably came from the same collection. So I bought both Eddie Collins, and that card was in a holder that the flip had slipped out of, so it was now dislodged, and so I was going to get it regraded. For T3s, I prefer the PSA holder. I think it's more stable, and you don't get cards slipping underneath the insert. So that card did go to PSA, along with some other T3s I had and another Bender pickup I'll talk about in a second. But the thing about that card that was interesting was the holder, basically when I went to pop it, 2/3 of the holder would already come undone. So when I just went to because they all have that little crease here that you can put your fingernail in to kind of pop it, 2/3 of the card that holder was already open. So it was barely held together, by hopes and dreams. So kind of disappointing that, the holder was in that kind of shape, honestly, because it just shows how easy those holders are. Because they're so big, they're so wobbly and flimsy, they come apart so easily. So that's why I'm getting a lot of Penton and PSA holders, but we'll talk about that. But my first really big Eddie Collins pickup, and I was really happy with it. Let's move on to the next card, which is another E103 Williams, and this is Chief Bender, sorry. And yeah, this is a little rougher shape than the Eddie Collins for sure. A little off center, but again, these cards are very hard to come by, and this was the right price point. I had done some deals with the dealer, and he gave me a good price on this card. I don't have this card, and my thought was I could pick it up now, and if I find a better copy, I can sell this and just get the better copy at some late time in the future. And so I went ahead and grabbed this version, and I don't really mind it that much, because even though it's got a crease here, it's not on his face. I still got some pretty good red color, and to show them side by side, there is the two different cards. So definitely not as nice as the Collins, but these cards are tough, and the fact that it's intact, doesn't have like chunks missing, was a plus for me. So I went ahead and grabbed it because it was a good price as well. So that was a good Bender pickup. My next Bender pickup here is, I think I'm gonna get this card regraded. And it's mislabeled anyway. We'll talk about it, but this is a T216. This is a cotton bag, T216. It's mislabeled here as People's Tobacco. That's not what this card is. It says right here, cotton. And the cotton variation from New Orleans is very rare. And so this version of this card is the rare cotton, not People's Tobacco, so it's mislabeled. It's authentic altered. Me and 3 other dealers looked at this and dug, and we don't think it's altered. We think they're looking at right here, that piece that's, how that's shaped kind of at an angle. But again, that's probably not from trimming or anything like that. It's probably just natural wear, because, generally you trim cards to make them look nicer. And this card is definitely not trimmed to make it, square or evened up or sharp corners or whatever. So I don't know. I'm going to send it to SGC and we'll see what they do. For one thing, I just think they'll give it a little bit of a better shot at, and maybe not even a number grade, just give it the right flip, because it's the wrong flip anyway. And, but I just think that it has a better chance of coming back, not altered, because I don't think the card's altered. I just think it's got some weird wear on it that happens on these cards over time. But PSA right now is a little tough. They don't recognize some of these things. Obviously they called it People's Tobacco, versus the actual normal classification, which is cotton, a cotton bag, not a People's Tobacco bag. So just weird. So yeah, I'm going to get that regraded by SGC at some point. So, but it's a really tough card. Next up is just a really tough card, and they've only been grading these cards for like 10 or 15 years. They're kind of a newer set that was found, and I saw them in auctions, and I actually was bidding on this card in one of the Love of the Game auctions and missed it. I was able to get this copy, and I actually love this card. I know a lot of people don't like these cards because of just the kind of garish red and orange. But these came off of candy boxes. They had to be cut. This one is a little, it's a 1, and it's missing, or it's cut kind of wonky. But again, I just love the image. This card looks so vintage. Like, it looks like a card from that era, and I just love it. When I saw this card for the first time, I was like, that is such a cool card. It does have his name. It has some damage right here as well. So again, it's not a high grade copy, but the image was what I was really after, and the image is really good for this card. Yes, technically, it doesn't have great cutting. It's got some damage here on the card, but to me, and it's got a pinhole here, but that's, to me, like, that it's cool because it's down here. It's not on this part. So happy with the card. It's super rare and hard to find. There's been like 5 total sales of this card ever. And the one thing I would point out is every card I'm going to show, these last 3 cards, there's like literally less than 10 sales of these cards recorded on VCP, so it's just like the last 3 to 5 years. So just show you how hard some of these cards to get. And that's what's fun about the National, is you can see cards like this. And I picked all these up from Ash, so he was a lot of fun to work with. He always comes, again, not always the cheapest, but he will work with you. He also pays really well on trades and giving you good offers on cards. So we were able to work out a good deal. And the last card of Bender I picked up is this Chief Bender here. The E92 Nausea Caramel. These are really, really, really tough to pick up, but especially in this grade. I think there's only one of these cards graded higher than this, so this is like the second highest graded copy. Beautiful card, just super high eye appeal. There's your Nausea back, so really pretty card, and just a lot of fun grabbing this. And the other bonuses is from the Lionel Carter collection. And for a lot of people, I think in the 90s is when this collection got sold, or was, I remember hearing about it. Like, this guy had like everything, like literally was one of those collectors that started maybe in the 50s and just collected everything when it was still a little easier to find. But like, he cataloged tons of cards that like had never been seen before. So he was like a pioneer. And that's how come he got his own, name on the card. So that, really, to me, makes the card even more special to have that designation. And the last 3 here on the pre-war, this card here, this T222, 1914 Fatima, Rube Marcard. Probably, of all the cards I picked up from an eye appeal perspective, this is probably my second favorite card I picked up. Just, the Nausea Caramel Bender is a very attractive card. But this card here is just, it just screams cool vintage card. This is the highest grade copy from SGC. It is just a great looking card. It's perfectly centered, no cracking, no creasing. A beautiful Fatima back. It's just a great card. This screams, there's a Grover Alexander and a Walter Johnson in this set. This set is crazy. This set misses like a ton of Hall of Famers. There's no Mathewson, no Cobb, but no Cy Young. But the Hall of Famers like Marcard are in this set are some of the best looking cards ever made. The size of the set makes it cool. It's just, it's super glossy. You see it right there, all that gloss. It's a crazy set. It's a crazy card. It's hard to buy cards like this and have comps because they don't sell, especially this kind of condition, very often. So, again, one of those cards that when I saw it, I was like, man, that card is ultra nice. I need to see if I can own that card. And the dealer was awesome, to work with. And I was able to pick up that card, and he had the actual 58 Hires Root Beer card I picked up too, so that was fun. Next up is a card that, I don't know even what you call this, but a card, I guess you can call it a card, but it's a notebook cover from 1910. And this is an interesting story. So it's Eddie Collins, and for one thing, it's a beautiful image, right? It's the same image that's used on the T3. So we'll start there. It's the same image. And we were walking around. I remember I mentioned earlier as I picked up the Eddie Collins T3, and as we were walking through the show, there's a dealer that we looked down and he had 3 of these in his case, and I just made the comment like, does that image, is that the same image as, does Eddie Collins have the same image on both the T3 and that the notebook cover set? And he's like, I don't know. So we got I still had the Eddie Collins, I hadn't submitted it yet, my T3 out, and we looked at it, and it actually is the same picture, but the background is completely different. The coloring is completely different. And so I was just like, man, it's so cool to have like basically the same card, but different artistic interpretations of the card. And so I bought this. It's in not the greatest shape. It's got some tearing there, but these are very thin. These are paper thin. I mean, they're paper basically. They were covers of a notebook. There's 8 Hall of Famers in the set. So again, it's not like a big set, but they're really attractive. And so I picked this up. So now I have, when I get my Collins back from PSA, I'll have 2 cards that have the same front image with just different backgrounds. I think that'd be cool to have like a set of those Collins cards. So, and then my last big pickup on the pre-war side. This is my big one. This is like the one that I was going around the entire show looking for a T3 Christy Mathewson. That's in that top 20 cards of me all time. It's pre-war, but that's one of the cards I love. I think it's one of the most attractive cards ever made. But we couldn't find a copy at the show first of all, we couldn't find a copy. I never saw one. My friend Doug, he said he saw one, but we could never find it again. So it may have sold. Every dealer I talked to, from Howard to every vintage dealer, Henry Reynolds, they all were looking for one too. So like it wasn't just me. And so Howard Chaser had this card as kind of a consolation prize, and I agree with him. It was a very nice copy. So we worked out a deal, and I picked up the Cy Young. So it is a great looking copy. Color on this card is crazy. The one thing I love about this card is the surface. With T3s, even if you can get technical grades of a certain way, like let's say it technically grades a certain way, it's a 2, but it's got a lot of staining or it's got a lot of heavy creasing. This card doesn't for 3.5. It doesn't have heavy creasing. It has great color, no real surface flaws, and you see most of the issues of this card are just the corners. It has one little spot here, but that's about it. It's just the corners on this card. And we were looking through it, and that's the thing is one of the corners is creased down here, but technically this grade, it's a really strong 3.5, but the color on this card, and if you just look at the card with some light on it, it is technically like a beautiful surface. Tons of gloss and color on this card. So I went ahead and made a deal for it. Here's the back. It's the advertiser checklist back, so it's not the super rare back. But it's still, for my purposes of thinking about doing the T3 set, because now I have the Walter Johnson. So now I have 2 of the 3 2 of the 4 big cards in the T3 set. So it's Walter Johnson, Cy Young, Christy Mathewson, and Ty Cobb. And I have the Young and the Johnson now. So I picked up the Johnson in one of the, I think I got it in one of the last REA auctions. So super stoked to get this card, honestly. Because it's hard to say, it's a consolation prize for not getting a Mathewson. But how nice it is. So, but yeah, just love getting that card. And so that's the last of my vintage cards, and so I'll move on.